And welcome into MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network, late on a Saturday evening. Not too much happened today. We did get one trade featuring the Rays and A's. We'll feature that one and what's up with the Yankees, what's going on with the Astros, some rumors about the Mariners and Luis Castillo, where he could possibly be going, Corbin Burnes updates, as well as what the Orioles' plans are for their pitching staff. That and more next here at the Upside. We'll start with the MLB Winter Meetings wrap-up. Quite a week it's really been for MLB transactions. Greatest contract in sports history was signed on Sunday night. Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million, and my, has baseball changed since just that contract on Sunday night. The Yankees have since pivoted to bringing in Max Fried and trading for Devin Williams. They miss on acquiring Kyle Tucker, who ultimately goes to the Chicago Cubs. Cubs, meanwhile, send Paredes and a couple of prospects back to Houston. Houston now has some money to go out there and spend in free agency, both on first base and in the outfield. Possibly a trade there, or a signing there of Anthony Santander as well. So a lot of activity here. That's not even the half of it. The Texas Rangers were one of the most active teams this week, bringing in Nathan Eovaldi, bringing in Higashioka just before the winter meetings began, the trade for Jake Berger, the signing of Jacob Webb, and it sounds like they may very well be the mystery team in there for Corbin Burnes. We'll get into that argument here in just a moment, but be sure to hit that like and subscribe. We gained 50 subscribers today in our live earlier today, so hats off to you guys. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. It really does help us out quite a bit. Welcome in Mark, welcome in John. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can't wait to hear who is the actual mystery teams on Burnes. I'm right there with you. John Heyman was the one who speculated that it was the Texas Rangers. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Maybe it's the Red Sox still hanging around, but it sounds like it's down to the Giants, the Blue Jays, and whoever this mystery team might ultimately be. Let us know in the comment section who you think it could be. I believe it could be the Texas Rangers, just like John Heyman does, but there's more teams that could use a guy like Corbin Burnes. Say the New York Mets, the Boston Red Sox, maybe even his former team, the Baltimore Orioles. The Toronto Blue Jays obviously are one of the two teams there. They need to make a big splash this offseason. Burnes would definitely qualify. That's one of our big stories tonight anyway, is where is Corbin Burnes going to end up? Welcome in, Joshua. Welcome back. Welcome back. Toronto for 8 for $250. I wonder if Toronto already has that offer on the table right now, honestly, Joshua. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, and it wouldn't surprise me even further if Corbin Burnes was using that offer to either pump up the offer from the Giants, or if he just wants to go to this mystery team and is waiting for other things to happen, i.e. trades off of the roster to free up money, etc. That might also be what's happening with Alex Bregman, why he has not signed yet. Remember, the top three finishers right now for Bregman are the Tigers, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays. I'm sure the Yankees are circling back to him as well, but the trade that I'm referencing here for Bregman would be one that would send Alec Boehm out of town for Philadelphia. They're looking to shake their team up this offseason and have yet to do so, but they will before Christmas. So hopefully we get that activity sooner rather than later. Mark, did you hear Baerga saying Vladdy rejected a $340 million deal? That's lowballing? Wow. That's an incredible number, though, for Vlad Guerrero. I mean, he is a great prolific hitter, don't get me wrong, but, when you look at first basemen in baseball, they don't get paid like they used to anymore. It's been, 10, 15 years since we've really seen a massive deal. Maybe Freddie Freeman's the one exception there. 6 for 150 gets you roughly, $300 million, if you get it to a 10-year deal. But Vlad Guerrero Jr., as the price of poker has gone up, maybe that's where the market is right now. I still don't think he gets over 500, but boy, oh boy, are the numbers starting to get pretty crazy out there for all of these contracts. Not that that's a bad thing. It just shows you how different the game is being used from a money perspective than it was, say, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's just incredible the way the numbers are rolling in for these players right now. Joshua, Bregman is going to end up with a typical Boras contract like Snell, Chapman, Bellinger all signed last year. I don't think he's going to end up that way. I think he's still a prime candidate on the free agent market. He's not going to be the one, holding a bag and saying, hey, will somebody sign me for 1 year so I can hit free agency again in a year after that? I don't think he's quite that far gone. I still think there's enough competition for the teams that are out there that he's still going to do very well in free agency. I would expect him to get north of $200 million at this point. I think he gets north of the Willy Adames contract. How much further north depends on where he ultimately goes. But I still think he's going to get the bag this offseason. Just checking in on some of the headlines that have happened today, which are not many. We did see a trade that sent Jeffrey Springs and another piece to the, I guess you would call them the A's at this point. And then 3 pieces go back to the Tampa Bay Rays and a compensation pick there. So A's continuing to strengthen their roster. Another minor league move. David Bodie goes from the Cubs to the Dodgers on a minor league deal. Other news of interest anyway, as Sean correctly points out there, the Cubs are indeed interested in Luis Castillo, and this is where we're going to get into the Baltimore Orioles as well, because they have checked in on the market for Castillo as well. This tells me that they have zero confidence that they're bringing back Corbin Burnes. Not a surprise, but I think this all but confirms that they are not the mystery team in there for Corbin Burnes, so go ahead and scratch them off the list. But again, this is a big issue for me with the Baltimore Orioles. They continue to trade for their starting pitchers and are not willing to spend in free agency to retain them. We've talked about this quite a bit the last couple of days. This is continuing that same storyline if they go and do it via trade once again. Understandably, you know the cost of Luis Castillo. You're not having to pay a premium for Corbin Burnes. I get that. It's a shorter-term deal than what you'd sign Corbin Burnes to. But at a certain point, how often are you going to deplete your farm system in the effort of keeping your pitching cheap? How long are you going to continue doing this where it might ultimately short-circuit your championship window? Instead of replenishing that major league talent with young, cheap contracts, now you've traded away all that talent and you're left with nothing in a very short period of time. So this window might close a lot faster than what we all thought originally with this Baltimore Orioles team. This is a team that had the best farm system in all of baseball, and as many trades as they're making to bring in some starting pitching, it's only a matter of time before there's not enough talent left for them to continue this championship, or at least contending run. I mean, you look at Adley Rutschman, best hitting catcher in the game right now behind the plate. Once you remove him from behind the plate, his impact on the field diminishes significantly because they have a real advantage having a catcher be that prolific offensively. Having him at DH or first base is not quite as impactful. Still going to be a great bat, but you don't have that at catcher. The other thing is you have cheap contracts for Henderson, of course. You got Holiday coming. They have to capitalize on it right now. They have to spend in free agency, and I don't understand why they're not doing so. My biggest reason for this is because you look at the trade that they made for Corbin Burnes 1 year ago. They knew he was hitting free agency in 1 year. That wasn't a secret. You knew it was going to happen. Sure, you may have thought you might have got him at a hometown discount, whatever the case may be, just because, he's on your roster, wants to stay there, all those kinds of things. But at a certain point, when you're trading for him, before you even get the deal done, before you've actually talked to Corbin Burnes, you have to remember, hey, this guy's going to be a free agent. Are we comfortable signing him in a year for, say, 7 years for $30 million per? Are we comfortable with that? If we're not, why are we making the trade for a guy who has 1 year left on his deal? Castillo has a little bit more time left on his contract, a little bit of money, obviously. So this is a little bit different from what they have been doing, but we see how Flaherty worked out for them. Now we're seeing how Burnes works out for them. At a certain point, like I said, you're going to short circuit this contending window that they have. At a certain point, they're not going to have the next level to replace those guys at the major league level who hit free agency, and you have to start paying them at big bucks. And the Orioles are showing hesitancy to pay big bucks on the free agent market right now. What makes us believe that they're going to do it when their guys hit free agency at positions? What makes us believe they're going to sign Gunnar Henderson or Holiday when they hit free agency? All of these are big questions Orioles management is going to have to answer, especially when ownership has said they're willing to spend the money. It's Mike Elias, the general manager, and the front office group there. They're saying, hey, let's hold on. We're not comfortable with the long-term deal. Okay, but then you have to have a long-term solution for what you're going to do in your rotation. If you're just going to piecemeal it year after year, sign one-year deals, lower-cost free agents, you're never going to have the best rotation when you go to the postseason, and pitching wins once you get to October. You have to have elite starting pitching, and right now, they're trotting out their Zach Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez. Does not make sense the way they're operating at the moment. Welcome back, St. Vintage. Castillo and Taylor to the Mets for McNeil, Jet Williams, Ryan Clifford, and Blade Tidwell. I wouldn't do that if I'm the Mets. I still hold on to as many prospects as I can if I'm the Mets. I use the checkbook of Steve Cohen to make the additions that I need. And I think there's several teams out there that are looking at Castillo that would be able to offer more than what the Mets, I think, would be willing to offer in a trade. I think they're going to go free agency for their starting pitcher rather than a trade, unless there was a clear option that they don't have to, include some of those top-end prospects. Say they don't require the Mariners to eat any of the money, and they just say, hey, Mariners, we'll give you a couple of lower-end prospects. We'll take on the money of Castillo, and then we'll take him. I don't think they'll end up doing that, though. I think there's options for the Mariners right now to use Castillo to improve their offense immediately, and that's what I think they're ultimately going to try to do. Just like you mentioned there, Bellinger to the Yankees. Is it dead? No, it is not. The Yankees are just trying to get the Cubs to eat some of the money. They're still considered the leader in the clubhouse for Bellinger, but the news that the Cubs have at least reached out to the Mariners in regards to Castillo, you wonder if Bellinger's name has come up, because remember, the Mariners are the other team that had significant interest in Cody Bellinger as well. John, when do you think the Bellinger trade might happen? Honestly, I thought it might have happened today. I'm hoping before we get through the end of the weekend tomorrow. So we'll see. But I think Bellinger probably gets moved a little bit earlier than some of the other trade options out there on the market. Bellinger will be traded after Alonso signs somewhere. Maybe. I think Alonso could sign relatively soon as well. Welcome in, Carlos. I think this is the first time I've seen you seen you messaging here. So thank you for joining us. Hit that like and subscribe if you're new here. Alonso, what and where? It sounds like the Mets are the leader in the clubhouse for him, but he still isn't signed yet, so we'll see where he goes. Plubrino, I guess? I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, but where Alec Boehm going? It's just a matter of time, I think, for the Phillies to kind of shake things up. And it sounds like Alec Boehm is the one guy that's at least drawing interest from outside clubs. Teams like the Mariners are said to have interest already. They've already discussed options there. A team like the Astros that just made the trade for Paredes looks like they're going to lose Bregman in free agency. Maybe they flip Paredes over to first base and then they make a trade for Boehm. I think that would be a little bit unlikely, but could be a possibility here as we're, after the winter meetings now. We should start seeing some unique trades start popping through and more of these free agents begin to sign. I think we're going to see a lot of guys, begin to sign, especially in that relief market, because Devin Williams is now off the board. Tanner Scott, probably the best option in free agency. Kirby Yates, probably right after him as well. So I think that relief market's going to start getting to turning into high gear. Welcome in, Caleb. Welcome back. Welcome back. Third base market is ugly. Absolutely. The trade market is where you want to go if you're looking for a third baseman. Arenado, maybe a Correa could be had via trade. A number of other options as well. Nicholas, welcome in. Welcome in. Belly to Yanks, Alonso to Cubs. I don't think Alonso goes to the Cubs at all. I think the Cubs, I think they're going to do something a little bit different at first base than, spend money in free agency at least this year. Maybe they go after a one-year guy, like Anthony Rizzo as kind of a stopgap option. But I don't think they're going to spend the money for Alonso. I think they're looking for pitching right now, and they're looking for some more lineup help as well. While Alonso would certainly help them in some regards, I think it would restrict their ability to add some starting pitching to that rotation financially. So we'll see what happens there. Are Phillies getting Bregman after trading Bohm? I think that's part of the reason why Bregman has not signed yet. He wants to give the Phillies a chance to get that deal done. If they're not going to get it done quickly enough, then he's still got 3 very interested teams in there. They have the Tigers, the Red Sox, and Toronto. That's kind of what I was going to say there, Joshua. The Cubs have Bush there. They did really good there. I don't think they need to sign a guy like Alonso. If they want to bring in a guy to platoon with Bush, maybe they go with a 1-year guy, but I don't really see the need for them to bring in a first baseman. I think it's just about bringing in good offensive talent for the Cubs, period, regardless of division. Edgar, welcome in, welcome in. New listener here, you sound like you have baseball knowledge. Thank you. I try anyway. We had quite a bit of new viewers joining us during our live earlier today. Had 150 of you guys with us all at one time. I think right now we're at 60, almost 70 viewers right now. Wow. You guys are enjoying this baseball coverage in the off season, and I can't blame you. There's really nowhere else to get it anymore. MLB Network doesn't even cover the game like they used to, which is kind of sad, honestly. But I appreciate you guys coming here and enjoying some baseball talk with us right after the winter meetings. We'll be live with you guys tonight, obviously right now. We'll be live with you guys again tomorrow night. And I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to keep this going on until, as long as you guys are enjoying this content, I'm going to keep coming on here as often as I possibly can. Anytime we see major breaking news, say Corbin Burnes signs tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon, I will be live immediately right after that. Bregman signs at say 10 a.m. I'll be live right after that as well. So, if there's any breaking news, be sure to hit that like and subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us over on X at UpsideSN and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. I thought I saw Alonso done with New York. I have not seen that one, Nicholas. Ethan, welcome back. Word is Mets are going after Vlad 10 years, 420 next season. I wouldn't be surprised the Mets going after Vlad. They have been connected to him before. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that, even if they brought back Alonso. Caleb, Bregman to Detroit. I think there's a good chance of that. Mark, excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Joshua, is Goldschmidt's career over? No, it is not. I think he has a good market in free agency right now. First base, you still got Alonso out there and Walker, but there's so many teams out there that could use an improvement at first base. My guess for him is he probably ends out west with the San Francisco Giants on a 1-year deal. St. Vintage, hit the like button. Absolutely. Hit that like button, everybody. We've got 70 of y'all with us right now. Hit that like if you don't mind. You see Bregman either with the Phillies or Tigers to reunite with A.J. Hinch. I would like both of those options if I'm a fan of baseball. I'd love to see him in Detroit. I think that would really solidify them as a division winner type of team. I don't think it necessarily makes them a championship team, but at least opens the door to where they could possibly get there. Meanwhile, the Phillies, this would be about them shaking up their roster. They're already the third best team to me in the National League. Bringing in Bregman would be a significant upgrade for me over Alec Bohm. I would love that either way. Liberty, welcome in. Why did Arenado put the Angels on his trade list? I think he just wants to be on the West Coast, preferably. Do you think his agent told him the Angels have serious interest? No, I don't think it's anything to do with his agent telling him there's interest from the Angels. I think it's the Angels, realizing Arenado's not Arenado, but Rendon isn't the answer at third base anymore. It just needs to move on. I just don't think there's a long-term solution on the Angels roster right now, and then he wants to be on the West Coast. So if that's the only team for him, that's why he might be willing to accept a trade there. Let me scroll up. I think I missed a couple of comments as they were popping through so fast. St. Vintage, Mets get Arenado and Alonso, use Vientos at DH, sign Manaea, Buehler, Stanek, and Robertson. That's not a bad pitching rotation if you bring in both of those guys. I think they would go to a 6-man rotation because they do have Senga. That'd be a good way to try to keep him healthy there. Trade for an Arenado to solve their problems at third base, sign Alonso. I kind of like that move all the way around. I don't see a problem with it. The only issue you might have is being able to sign both Buehler and Manaea. I think Buehler wants to go somewhere where he's going to get guaranteed starts. And with the 6-man rotation, you can't necessarily guarantee that because if you decide, hey, we don't really like the way this works with 6-man, let's go back to 5, somebody's going to lose their job in that rotation, and they've already made other commitments. So Buehler might be more willing to go to other teams like the Braves than Cubs and others before he signs with a 6-man rotation with the Mets. But if they don't sign Manaea, then maybe it is Buehler that ultimately goes there. But I really like Manaea a lot more than I do Buehler. I'd be trying to get that one done if I'm the Mets. Let me scroll down here a little bit. I think I got all those questions there. Let's see. Edgar, why there's no trade market for Torres? Let me see here. Torres. Trying to understand who you're referring to when you say Torres. Are you saying Gleyber Torres? Edgar, are you saying Gleyber Torres? If you're asking why there's no market, there is a little bit of a market here. The Angels have checked in, Nationals checked in, and a few other teams that are looking for second and third base help. Shortstop, I think, is out of his wheelhouse now, his bailiwick. And so I think you're looking more at a second base, third base team for Torres. He said he was unwilling to move over to third for the Yankees. Maybe he's willing to do so for the Nationals. That would be the only reason why he would sign in Washington. Nicholas, Bregman to Red Sox, then they trade for Correa, Casas, for Castillo. I wouldn't say that's out of the realm of possibility. Bregman, I think signing with the Red Sox is legitimately possible. Trading for Correa, I'm not sure if that one would come across because you'd be then loading up on, Correa, possibly being your DH, I guess, at that point. You'd probably have Devers at first base. You'd have Bregman over there at third. I don't necessarily see that being very likely. As far as the Casas for Castillo, that could be a nice fit there. Maybe Abreu could be traded for a Correa, but I just don't see how you get all of those pieces onto the Red Sox roster. Correa, I just don't think fits if you sign Bregman. Paranormal, welcome in. Did just joining, something happened? No, nothing, unfortunately. Just the trade of the Rays and A's, and then we saw the signing of David Bodie, a minor league deal. Just giving you guys a daily recap on what's been going on, recap of the winter meetings as well. Joshua, Rendon single-handedly killed Trout's legacy. I think the Angels did that more than anything else. Rendon did a pretty good job of it as well. Angels, severe organizational mismanagement from the top down. It was absolutely brutal to watch them try to build that roster around Shohei and Mike Trout. They failed every single way they tried to do it, and I mean, they should have traded Shohei Ohtani 2 years before he ultimately hit free agency. They should have done it at the deadline after that. They should have done it in the winter meetings after that. They should have done it at the deadline after that before you end up losing him for, a compensation pick? Come on, man. Angels should have done better by Trout and by Ohtani and by their fan base because now they're going to go into what the Cubs went through before they got really good, what the Astros went through before they got really good. It's going to be a complete gut job here for the Angels. And they got the right guy there now. I think Ron Washington's going to help coach up the team that they have, but they're not winning 80 games. They might win 70, 75 games, but their floor is a lot higher now that the transactions that they brought in. But again, you don't want to be in the middle when you're going through a rebuild, and that's kind of where they're at right now. I would not have signed Kikuchi, for instance, at least not to that number. I would have signed him to a deal that at least would have made him more attractive via trade, if he was able to retain some trade value at the deadline. Say, signing him to a 1 or 2 year deal. Now, you probably wouldn't have signed him to that, but that would have been the types of moves I would have been looking for. Like the Kyle Hendricks deal, great move, because if it works out, you flip him at the deadline, costs you very little, and now you bring up a young guy after the deadline. That move is exactly what the Angels should have been doing this entire offseason. Trout being hurt 3/4 of every year hurt himself. True. His numbers have also dipped when he is healthy as well. He's no longer a top 20 player in the game at this point. His numbers just don't justify that type of argument. Saint vintage could be Manaea and Pivetta then. I think Manaea more likely out of anything else, and then whatever they can sign, say 1 year, $4 million for a sixth guy in the rotation option or a long reliever. Think along the lines of a guy like Martin Perez, who could sign for 1 year, $4 million. It's not going to be one of these impact starters like a Heaney, a Pivetta, a Buehler. I don't think they'll be able to get 2 of those guys to fit into that rotation. I think if they get Manaea, then you're going to the bargain basement here to try to fill in the rest of that rotation if you want to go to a 6-man rotation. Not because that you couldn't sign somebody to that number. It's just that I don't think there's the innings there for those pitchers to see long-term success with the Mets organization. I just don't think that they would sign there, especially when they would be getting guaranteed innings at another spot that would be giving them very similar money. Let's see here. I'm trying to keep up with all these comments. Yankees should consider Luis Arraez. I would love that for a bunch of different teams out there. Breggy Cruz, appreciate you joining us. I think that's the first time I've seen you join us. I apologize if I butchered the name, but Luis Arraez would be a great fit on a lot of teams. Very few teams have a guy that can be at the top of an order and hit for 350 average in any given season. During stretches of the season, will go for a month or two hitting over 400. He is a very good player, and if you have some RBI guys, some home run hitters in your 2, 3, 4 spots, he'd be a great leadoff hitter for you. So, if he is truly on the market, I would be very much interested in trying to acquire him. He doesn't really have a spot in the infield. He can play third, play second, play first. I think his best position is hitter, though. However you have to do, whatever you have to do to get him in the lineup, I think is exactly what teams should be looking at. For instance, say the Texas Rangers did something with Corbin Burnes. They trade off Gray, they trade off Tavares, they trade off Lowe. Maybe they turn around and try to acquire a guy like Luis Arraez to play at first base along with Jake Burger. Burger can be in the lineup against lefties, whereas Arraez would probably be in there every day and maybe put Burger in there at DH on those other days. But something to consider there. But any team could use a player like Luis Arraez. Did Torres turn down the Angels? I have not heard that, no. Cora gets his Astros back, possibly if they sign Bregman. Joshua, Cubs move Suzuki. Tucker acquisition guarantees he is the DH, and his agent already said he doesn't want to be a full-time DH. I do think the Cubs are trying to find a fit as far as a trade for Suzuki. I don't think he really fits on that roster anymore. The question is, who's going to take that money? He's got another year left after this year. He's got $18 million this year, $19 million against the tax anyway. It's not going to be a pretty trade, whatever they do. Maybe they eat some of the money on it to clear the roster space off of there. But at a certain point, would you rather just have him on your roster if you're going to eat $10 million of the deal anyway? We'll see what happens there. Nicholas, I'd love the Yankees to get Arraez. I think he'd be a great fit there. If so, who is interested in Suzuki? I have not heard any teams connected to Suzuki, really. I would imagine teams that miss in free agency would then pivot to a guy like Suzuki because he would be so very much available from the Cubs. John, MLB trade rumors has Corbin Burnes estimated 7 for 200. Do you agree? If so, how do the Rangers make that happen? I would imagine he gets a little bit better than that. I think he gets a very similar deal to Max Fried, if not a little bit better than that. I would say 8 years, 230 is probably more likely right now for Corbin Burnes. But if the Rangers were to do that, that's roughly, a little under $30 million a year. You just backload the deal, put a signing bonus on it, let the first year count for, say, 20-ish million against the tax, and then you ratchet up the value towards the back end of the deal. That's one way Texas could do it, and then they trade John Gray because they need to have some holes in that rotation to allow Kumar Rocker to take one of those spots. You'd have a rotation with DeGrom, Eovaldi, Burnes, Kumar Rocker. John Gray would be traded away, so Rocker would probably be your number 4. Leiter could be in there as your 5, or Bradford. Maybe even go the free agent, or I'm forgetting Molly as well. He's going to probably be your number 4, not Kumar Rocker. But in either event, there's ways the Rangers could make it happen. St. Vintage, Trevor Williams. I think he'd be a decent signing somewhere as kind of a low-cost option. That would be kind of a number 6 starter in the Mets rotation type of player for me. I think if you're counting on him to be your 1, 2, or 3 in a rotation, it's a mistake. But a 4, 5, or 6 makes sense. Edgar, don't want to rise. Yankees need athletic, fast players. Yankees do need to get more athletic, true. But Arraez's bat-to-ball skills would certainly help. They don't really have anybody with that same level of hit tool on that roster. Not even Aaron Judge has that hit tool. Getting him on base in front of Aaron Judge would really help them out. But we'll see. He is a hugely undervalued player in the market. He is very much like Tony Gwynn. That's a great comp, Joshua. That's a great comp for Luis Arraez. Tony Gwynn. Dude gets on. That's what Soto did in front of Judge. Exactly. Making my argument for me. Thank you very much, Nicholas. St. Vintage. The thing is, with the Mets rotation, if you sign 2 good starting pitchers, Holmes could go to the pen. Sure, but you just signed him to be in your rotation. And I'm sure he's happy with the money and would rather be a starting pitcher, but at a certain point, you're basically telling free agents, we're still going to do what's best for our team. We might promise you a role every day in our lineup, but, by the time the season rolls around, we might change our plans entirely. I get it, once you sign on the dotted line, you have to honor the contract, but at a certain point, free agents are going to say, hey, didn't you just not honor the agreement that you had with Holmes after you just told him that he was going to be a starting pitcher in your rotation? Now you sent him back to the bullpen before he even got 1 start? That doesn't exactly sit well with me, and so I'm going to sign elsewhere where they're going to keep their word to me that they tell me in the deal, in their negotiations during free agency. So that's just a way to sour free agents on your team. I would steer clear of that. Now, if things don't work out, obviously Holmes could move back to the pen, but I think you have to start with him in the rotation right now. St. Vincent, they have options: Senga, Peterson, Montas, Holmes, Blackburn. Right now, there's room for 2 more. I agree, there is room for more. Nicholas, I wonder if the Cubs would try and push Suzuki in on a Bellinger trade and maybe add in Horner for a blockbuster Yankees trade, kind of like what the Red Sox did with the Dodgers all those years ago. I get what you're saying there, kind of the Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez trade to the Dodgers in exchange for, moderate prospects to get the money off the books of the Red Sox. I get it. I just don't think the Yankees are the team for that. A team that's just burning through money is a team that might be more willing to do something like that. Say like the LA Dodgers or the New York Mets. But neither of those teams, I think, would want anything to do with Suzuki. Bellinger would be the piece they would want out of that one. Horner's coming off of injury, so his value is diminished. I don't think the Cubs would want to include him in that type of a deal. But I get the point there is you're trying to get off the money of Suzuki and Bellinger without having to eat any of it. I get the point of the trade. I just don't think there's a trade out there to make that satisfies those requirements without, retaining some salary. Vintage, the money is in between reliever and starter. I agree they need to add some relievers and starters to the Mets. No, you give Holmes a shot. I'm just saying it's an option. It is an option. I agree with you there, is that you start with Holmes in the rotation. I think you have to do that. But once it becomes clear it's not working out, then you move him back to the pen. You don't bring in, 2 starters in the offseason, promise them additional starting spots in the rotation. Sure, you may have injuries and you may ultimately need those guys in that rotation anyway right off the bat. I get that part of it as well. But, say you sign, all these guys in there. Say you sign Buehler and Manaea as well, like your original message said there. You'd have Senga, you'd have Manaea, you'd have Holmes, Montas. Peterson could be another guy. You have Buehler in there as well. That's too many options for your everyday rotation. At a certain point, you just have to stop adding pitchers that you're promising rotation spots to. You need to sign guys with the expectation that they have a chance to earn a spot in the rotation. Absolutely. If they had said to Holmes, hey, we'll give you every chance to earn a spot in the rotation, I would agree there. But they told him, you're going to be in the rotation. We're going to give you a chance to start. And they're going to let him do that to start the year. So until that falters, you have to give him a rotation spot. You can't plan on as if he's not going to be in that rotation. So we'll see where they go. Let's see here. Is Arizona linked or rumored to anyone? Good question there. The rumors for them pretty much circle around Christian Walker and Jordan Montgomery, 2 of their own free agents / trade pieces that could be out there. I think Walker is more likely gone at this point. There's too much interest in first base. As far as Montgomery, I'm sure they would love to trade him for a bag of potato chips if the team was willing to, take the full boat of Montgomery's money. I don't think a team is out there right now willing to take his full boat. And if the Diamondbacks are willing to, say, eat $10 million of that deal, then they might get a nice piece back. But I haven't heard too many rumors connecting the Diamondbacks to pretty much anybody at the moment. Senga, Manaea, Peterson, Buehler, Montas, Holmes, that's 6. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody out or in that list, though. Blackburn can go to the pen, yes. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody in that list. If it is just those 6, though, maybe you could make it work. But again, you're promising those guys spots in the rotation. So if you decide no longer to use a 6-man rotation, somebody's got to get out of there. I guess in that mix, you'd say Peterson would be the guy out. Alrighty. Got 75, 80 of you guys with us right now. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Not too much happening tonight. We'll be live with you guys again tomorrow. Let's go ahead and flip over to X and just see if anything is happening at the moment. Let me pull that up for you guys. Update our page here. Flaherty starting to get some interest. One bit of news on the Minnesota Twins is that they've been connected to Carlos Santana. A couple of other teams have also checked in on his market, one of them being the New York Yankees. So if they do decide to go big in free agency on a Bregman or some other top target out there, maybe they go cheaper at first base with a Carlos Santana. That's one idea that I've seen out there as well. Edgar, are the Rockies still trading Ryan McMahon? No, they're not trading McMahon. It sounds like they want to hold on to him, and they're trying to get more out of Nolan Jones as well. We'll see where they ultimately end up with some of their pieces that I think they could use, off of the free agent market. Say like a Gleyber Torres, kind of capitalizing on a player who had great prospect status at one point. A Yohan Moncada makes some sense for them as well. Let's see, Royals jumped out last year, made a bunch of moves. They've been quiet. They have, but they already made a move this offseason as well, bringing in probably the most significant move for them, which is Jonathan India to be their leadoff hitter in front of Bobby Witt. I would love to see that lineup and how they are going to use it. Remember back when the Royals were really good, it was back in 2015. What was the calling card of that team? Getting on base, speed, and defense. They also had pitching as well. And that's kind of what they're getting back to. They're trying to get some of their younger talent that didn't ultimately work out of spots that are no longer working, and bringing in some veterans over the last year or so to really fill those spots. And they did a nice job last year. They really improved their win total. I think right now they're a borderline playoff team with India. If his addition really makes that offense tick, we could be talking about a division champion in the AL Central in the Kansas City Royals. They have used 6 starters with Senga. They have. But at a certain point, they may shut it down to 5, say after the trade deadline. They may want to shorten it down to 5 as they're trying to push for a pennant, things along those lines. Joshua, Rockies are crushed by bad Bryant contract. Rockies are crushed by just poor decisions from top to bottom, from the general manager on down. The decision to give the big deal to Arenado, the decision to trade away Arenado and eat the money, and then the money they saved by trading Arenado, they immediately give to Bryant. Bryant gets hurt, and just continually bad decision after bad decision. Peterson 10-3 last year, sub-3 ERA. I agree, he's a good pitcher for them. They do need to add some bullpen for me, and they need to lock up some starting pitchers. Those are the needs for the Mets right now, in addition to bringing back Alonso. Edgar, Rockies need to trade some of those young guys. Good trade pieces there. Yes, but not as many as you think. A lot of those young trade pieces haven't worked out at the major league level. They don't have a whole lot coming in the minor leagues. They just need to get some of those young guys to finally pan out and take more risks on failed prospects from other teams and see if they can catch fire with the Rockies. We're talking about Colorado. It shouldn't be that hard to find some failed offensive pieces, put them in Colorado, inflate their numbers a little bit, peddle them somewhere else, or at least field a productive offensive team there in Colorado. They haven't been able to do even that part for the past 5 or 6 years now. That the pitching staff is always going to have its issues. It's hard to pitch in Colorado. I get it, elevation. The ball doesn't move right or left. Pitchers have a lot of spin rate. Those kinds of things don't really translate well there. Guys who throw the ball hard, that works. And guys who sink the ball, that works. Other than that, you're not really going to move it right or left at any point when you're in Colorado. But appreciate you guys joining us. Again, the big move today was the Jeffrey Springs trade to the A's. We saw yesterday, anyway, Devin Williams get traded to the New York Yankees. Kyle Tucker go to the Cubs. Those are some of the big moves that have happened since the winter meetings have ended. But expect a flurry of activity in the next 24 hours. I would guess it's going to begin with Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes seems to have the most active market right now. Bregman could be on the hitting side, and then the relief market, I think we're going to see some movement there as well. After we get out of the weekend is when I'd start to see some of those outfielders start to come off the board. Remember, a lot of teams like to get their shopping list done before Christmas. The Mets specifically like to get it done before the winter meeting, so great on them for getting Juan Soto done, but they still have more work to do. Yankees need to add a couple of bats there as well. Nobody has really finished all their shopping this offseason. Astros are going to be more active now that they've offloaded Kyle Tucker. They have some holes to fill. Bregman's going to be leaving, going elsewhere. So we should see a bunch of activity over the next couple of weeks. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Any big news that happens, we'll have it here live for you. So be sure to join us. Follow us over on X at UpsideSN and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. Short and sweet this evening. Not too much activity out there, but we'll get into more of that tomorrow morning. Hopefully we have some trades in the overnight hours. But again, the second Burnes gets signed somewhere, expect us to be live within 15 minutes after that. Same thing with Bregman. We will be live as quick as we possibly can for you. Any realistic interest in Cease? There is some interest coming from the Baltimore Orioles and a couple of others. I would not be surprised if the Orioles once again went to the well of trading for a guy that's an impending free agent. We've seen how that works out. Flaherty leaves. Burnes looks like he's on the way out the door. Hopefully, if you're an Orioles fan, they decide, hey, this is a guy we want to keep if we trade for him, and they give him a long-term deal. But honestly, that's all wishing and hoping right now for the Orioles fans, because it looks like, once again, you're going to lose the big starting pitcher that you just traded for. So we'll see if the Orioles can rebound this offseason, bring in a couple of starters, because right now it's just Eflin and Rodriguez at the top of that rotation. JRP, the O's don't want to win. I think they want to win. I just don't think they want to spend the money on it. Specifically, I don't think Mike Elias wants to spend money on starting pitching. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll be live again tomorrow morning around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all then. Y'all have a great evening out there.